fake news.
Hi everyone. Oh, you can't see me. Haha, there you go. It's Andrew from Cross-RC, and I am just going to do a quick video of me putting a wash on the command pod, which is almost finished. Just needs to be highlighted, weathered, kind of aged a little bit. I've done one side already, and I'm going to do this side now just to show you a few little bits about how I'm doing this. Not to say that it's right or wrong, or the best way or the worst way. It's just how I'm going to do this. Everything's a little bit made up as you go along. So I'm just going to go through what I'm going to do, and then we'll catch up when I'm doing it, and we'll hopefully get to see a half usable end result. So what am I going to do? Basically, I'm using acrylics, and I'm using I've got two Tamiya acrylics. I've got a flat black and a flat brown. If you're really interested, it's XF10 for the brown, and obviously you have XF1 for the black. I've also got some old pots of acrylic here, Humbrol acrylic, 62 brown and 117 green. Green's almost done. Into which, you know, I've put them into these plastic containers. When I water it down, I put a little bit of paint in and water it down with water. Oddly enough, I don't bother using the thinners. Just with water, it's acrylic, it should be fine. And it's quite thin and runny. Whether you can maybe not tell so much on there, but let me try and show you. It's quite runny. It will drip off this cotton bud eventually, but it is quite, you know, thin and runny. I did some last night, and I've basically just re-soaked the pigment that was left and added a little bit more paint on top. I mix them up a little bit. There's some black in that green to darken the green down. The brown will get some dark brown, and it will get some black added as I go around this, just to keep the tone changing all the time. And the idea with what I'm going to do is a wash. So it's just going to very thin paint, as I say. It's just going to get painted into the key areas, and then I'm going to take it off with this cloth. I'm going to dry it off before it dries and hardens, otherwise it becomes permanent. And I'm just going to dry it off and pull it off a little bit so it stains the green paint but doesn't leave too hard an edge. That's the hope. I'm also having my dinner, so you'll have to forgive me eating the pizza while I don't want it getting cold. I love the channel, but it doesn't get between me and pizza, let me tell you. So I'm going to crack on. The brush I'm using is just a regular kind of paintbrush, flat though. I like the flat spade type, shovel type brushes, because you can get nice lines under and around all the straight edges, okay, into panel lines and things like that. No? But there's nothing fancy here, just synthetic. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Put a bit of this on, going to take it off with a cloth, and let's see where we go. Okay, so I've just added a bit of brown, and then done a little bit more on the top with a bit of black added to it. And so now all I'm going to do is just wet my rag in some water, and I'm just going to pull this paint off. Think about the direction that you're weathering things in as well. So I'm trying to have a little dark line down here that fades, so I'm trying to go that way with it. So I can maybe just leave a little bit more pigment right in the crease than out on the surface here. If I go that way down, then I'm just going to strip all the pigment straight out of it. So I'm tending to work, which way? This way. I'm tending to work away from the line that I'm trying to emphasize. So there is now a brown sheen on this, which is a bit hard to see under artificial light maybe. You can kind of maybe just pick it out. The one thing about doing this is you can't really take it off so easily, so don't put a huge amount on. Don't go crazy. I learned I put a bit too thick a wash on, and it took really quick and I couldn't get it off in time. This is really weak, and as a result, you know, it's very, very subtle, so I'll build it up and build it up. I've just done kind of this area, and I hope you can tell the difference between that and the untreated area over here, which is a bit more uniform, much more uniform to the eye. I've done this side, I've done this window, it's got a few little stains and what have you on there. So what I thought I'd do is I try and do it kind of live, so you can get a feel for how long I leave it, how long it takes to before I wipe it off, and so forth, rather than just doing jump cuts of it, me starting and finishing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at this window frame. I've put a little bit down this side, and I'm going to just show you this bottom bit with the staining and so on, just to see if I can replicate it live. No Photoshop magic. So I'm just going to take what I've got is a little bit of black, so I'm going to just darken the brown down the wall, and I'm just going to run it with, again, the flat chisel brush. I can just run it into there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up towards it. Doesn't matter if it goes over, because the paint's more likely to pool when you pull the brush off, and obviously I want it thicker under the window than I want it as it goes down the bodywork, where it gets thinner. So I'm going to kind of flick it up, and then I'm just going to bit of water, clean the brush a bit, get some lighter brown, and do the same again. So it's just starting to dry. You can see I can just squidge it around with my finger just to start working out those hard lines, and then I'm going to just add a lighter coat into there as well, and that might be all we need. So I'm not going to leave it too long. I'm going to start tidying up this top section. So I just wet the cloth and start working. And obviously some of this you need to rub quite vigorously, so it does pay to have a very good base coat of paint, you know, make sure it's adhered properly, prime it and all the rest of the stuff. And then there's quite a lot of paint got on there, and it looks like I'm wiping it all off, right? I hope you can still see that. I haven't got too many options to shoot this. Yeah, I'll back that out a little bit so you can just the layout of the room. I don't really have a great camera position. And again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to wipe this in the direction it would have fallen, not this way. Gravity wouldn't really push it this way. Gravity would pull it down off the window. So just wiping it away, obviously not trying to wipe all of it off. I'm just trying to get rid of any hard lines that I can see. And then we'll just leave it to dry. Now, that looks a bit dark compared to this one. There's not quite enough sort of brown pigment in there. So I'll just take a little bit more of my brown. You know, and I could obviously just get a bit straight out the tin, and I'm just going to put in a few little dabs of brown. And if I wanted a real kind of rust streak, I could just, like I say, get some out of the tin, out of the pot, because obviously this would be pretty strong and thick. Okay, just a little dab on a cocktail stick, because you really don't need a lot. You can always put paint on, you can't always take it off as easy. Right, so the brush has now got, come on Phil, I'm going to catch it. So the brush has now got a little bit of bright sandy pigment on there, so I'm just going to rub some of that on, get that off the brush, and let's see if I can then get some of this off. I mean, you can see I am rocking this thing. I am pressing into the paint quite a lot. And this is the point when you leave it, the longer you leave it, the harder you have to scrub at it, which obviously could then start taking the green out, which could be a bit of a catastrophe. And when you've wiped it, you've got to remember that sometimes you can leave a stain where you've marked, where you've brushed it to. So you often work a little area, but you end up actually spreading the paint around quite a big distance. And you've got to be mindful of that. You don't want a sort of curved, faint watermark somewhere where it shouldn't be. So it really does push the paint around a little bit, stains everything. And there we go. Again, it's not rocket science. It's just trial and error. But just remember, please, the one thing, don't go at this like a bull in a china shop. You know, you are talking paint, it is going to stain. I used to, on scale models, I used to do this in watercolour. So you could wash it all off. And even watercolours would stain the matte varnish. So acrylics obviously will go permanent if you leave them. Don't go over the top. If it takes you twice as long to do the job because you're using very thin layers of paint, that is better than trying to rush it and use one layer and then the whole thing looks dreadful every time. Anyway, I hope that's been enjoyment, and I'll watch out for the next instalment.